Alright, so what I did is I pulled some common anti-gun propaganda and made comments to it. Um, so there you go. Everybody keeps saying Second Amendment this, Second Amendment that. You're looking at something that was adopted in 1791. We live in the 21st century. It should be about time that we do something about these old rules. The Second Amendment and the right to bear arms was only approved to prevent others from entering property and committing treason, a time when the police were not so spread as they are today. So the First Amendment was also adopted in 1791. Should we throw that out too? There are approximately 929,000 police officers in the United States out of 318.9 million people. That's pretty spread out. Also, according to the Supreme Court in Warren v. District of Columbia, the duty to provide public services is owed to the public at large, and absent a special relationship between the police and an individual, no specific legal duty exists. If a psychotic shooter saw an XM-15 Bushmaster sitting on his table, the intimidation and motivation would continue unabated. However, if such weapons were banned, motivation would dwindle as the perpetrator would need to go through many black market and illegal places, which are maybe unreachable due to their lack of knowledge. So a person cannot resist the urge of an inanimate object. If that's the case, we should also ban gasoline and matches to prevent arson. You protect yourselves with a gun? Are you really going to shoot some guy that just walks in your house? Have you ever heard of anybody actually using a gun to defend themselves? So, you'd rather see me get murdered than kill somebody trying to kill me? And yeah, I have. And if you look around, you will too. The Second Amendment applies to militias, not civilians. So, the phrase, the right of the people to peaceably assemble, the right of the people to be secure in their homes. Enumerations herein of certain rights shall not be constructed to disparage others retained by the people, and the powers not delegated herein are reserved to the states respectively and to the people. All refer to individuals, but the right of the people to keep and bear arms refers to the state. Studies show that there are more cases in which people are killed by guns than saved by civilians with guns. According to the CDC, guns are used 500,000 to more than 3 million times a year defensively. The Brady campaign says that 325,514 people die from gun violence each year. If we just use the 500,000, that's 467,486 people saved by guns more than killed. For instance, if you allow a mentally disturbed person to have a gun, they can go out and shoot people with it. If that mentally ill person didn't have a gun, there would be no mass shootings. So the criminals will just all turn in their guns, and then they won't use like bombs or anything else. It would take more intense training than a cop to take down a killer with a gun in a public place. Besides, you're not just dealing with one-way firing, you're dealing with crossfire, which is twice as deadly. So what you're saying is the police are ineffective? So we should just let the killer go on about his thing and kill people? Also, the average police officer only fires their weapon to qualify, maybe 2 to 3 times a year. The average shooter, civilian shooter, goes to the range as often as they can, shooting hundreds of rounds at a time. A lot of statistics show that police officers actually are less effective with their firearms than civilian shooters are. I think banning guns would make my community safer, because then the criminals have to turn them in, and the gangsters wouldn't have anything to shoot each other with. So the criminals would just turn their guns in? Interestingly, because according to the Supreme Court of Haynes versus United States, making a criminal register their guns would violate their Fifth Amendment rights. I think there should be security cameras and full body scanners everywhere in public to prevent mass shootings. So if there's security cameras in there, how will that help people? People will wear masks or just shoot out the cameras first. Also, how many times have you seen footage of people committing crimes on camera? I think only the police should be allowed to have guns because they work for the government, and the government would never abuse its power. Well, let's see. Adolf Hitler, Mao Zedong, Joseph Stalin, Kim Il sung, and Saddam Hussein, they all abuse their power. Also, between the FBI, the ATF, and the DEA, there is 1,940 guns missing from their inventories. Without gun control, an assailant enters my house with a gun. I reach for my gun and I shoot him. I am then left with the emotional and physiological trauma that will scar me for life. With gun control, if an assailant enters my house, I can use some very basic training to incapacitate him, call the police, and ask them to make an arrest. I have not wasted a life, and I don't have to live with killing somebody. Okay, without gun control, you're alive. With gun control, the assailant most likely will have a gun and kill you. Or what if that victim is elderly, disabled, have other medical issues, or just weaker than their assailant? Or what if there's two assailants? I guess in those times, it's just bad luck for that person, huh?